Hey, Coach. Your style's been described as being a lot of up tempo, often out of shotgun. Is that dependent on who's under center, or is that the style we should expect? And what trait do you think a quarterback you'd ideally want in that offense would be the best trait to have?
All right, you welcome me the right way with a multi-part question, huh? So I guess first things first. We'll start. We'll play a little bit under center. We'll play a little bit in the gun. We'll do that based on each install. We're not gonna, we're not gonna jump into this thing and say we're gonna be a certain type of offense right away. Our approach is going to be comprehensive. So we're going to jump into it, and we're going to put the system in as a whole. The system can fit and can tailor to any type of player that we bring in here. We don't ever want to turn down a good player because he doesn't fit the system. And as we get going, we want to make sure we tailor the system to the players we have and what they do best. So right now we just had a couple meetings here. We had one yesterday. We had one today. And we're just going through putting the general section stuff in, the beginning of the book in. We got lined up yesterday, and today we started putting some simple run concepts in. But we want to make sure we get a look at these guys in pads and see what they do best before we, try to guess on, the best way to go out and play.
All right, guys, let's keep going. Please note to introduce yourself and tell Coach which out you're with. It's the first time he's seeing most of y'all. So Jonathan Alexander, then Skylar Callahan.
Hey, Ben. Jonathan Alexander, Charlotte Observer. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Let me ask you, when you look back at the film of this offense and why the quarterbacks, may have struggled last year, what did you see? What did you determine from that?
Well, we went back. One of the first things I think you have to do is you have to go back and try to figure out why you're in the building. And there are a lot of good coaches. Excuse me. There are a lot of good coaches in the building and a lot of good players in the building. And when I went back, we watched each game. So we spent time together as a staff watching all 16 games. And we just had looked at the season and how it unfolded. Those discussions, I think it's important, when things are said and things are done, we keep kind of those in-house right now. But there's a lot of reasons why, maybe the win total wasn't what you desired last year. And I think Coach Rule hit it in the meeting this morning. I think the most important thing we can do is take care of the football. The ball's king. And if we start there and we do a better job taking care of the football moving forward, we're going to have a chance to be more successful on Sundays.
Hey, Ben, Skylar Callahan with Sports Illustrated. Welcome to Charlotte. Just wanted to get your thoughts on when you go through this draft process in a year like this where there's really not a clear-cut number one guy and there's multiple names at the top at quarterback. Just what kind of things do you look for, whether it be on the field, off the field, in these interviews that you guys have, just that may stick out to you?
Yeah, I think you have to look at each position. I think it's an exciting year for the draft, that's for sure. I'm not sure what the narrative out there, but I think there are a lot of players that could jump up there early in the draft. There's a lot of qualified players. But, you're really looking for, the whole package when you're picking up high, and those are and you kind of want to see how the player fits into, your culture and fits into the brand. I'm a big believer in the brand here that Coach Rule has, big believer in the plan to win, and I think that's kind of your starting point there.
Let's go to Darren Gant and Will Palachik.
Hey, do it, man. Darren Gant, Panthers.com. How would you describe what you want to do offensively, I guess, from a philosophy standpoint compared to what was here previously? What are the big differences in what you believe about offense?
Well, I think, the first thing, like I talked about, is we need to see what the players do well, and we need to put them in position to be successful and do what they do well. Now, a lot of the times you can't tailor to all the players, but you can to the nucleus of players. So that's number one. I think the most important thing for us, philosophically, is the game's about players, not plays. And we want to put the ball in the players that can greatly impact the game, put the ball in their hands. And we want to think of those players in critical times and put them in position to be successful so they can impact the game in your favor. I think, another thing that's important to me is we play, whether we spread out or we play with a fullback or we play with multiple tight ends, we could go any direction. That remains to be seen, but I think it's important that you have a physical, heavy-handed play style in this league, that you need to run the football, and you need to run the football on your own terms. Now, those of you who know me and who've watched me, I like to throw the football, that's for sure. But there needs to be times in the game and times in the season where you have to decide to run the football, and you have to be able to do that. And it gives you a chance to be successful.
Hey, Ben, Will Palanchik, WFNZ Radio here in Charlotte. The offensive line has undergone a massive transformation year over year, especially with the addition of Coach Campen. What did you like about the additions that were made, and how will that play change year over year for you guys?
Yeah, I like, when I came in, we started watching film. I think there's good pieces here on the offensive line. And I think adding Bozeman and adding Corbett did nothing but help us and created depth and created competition right there. But there's some good young players who have to grow, and they need to develop, and they need to improve. And I can't think of a better guy to come in and help do it than Coach Campen. He's a tremendous football coach. I worked with him for 8 years in Green Bay, and I know he's excited to get out there on the field and get his hands on these guys.
Is it a situation where you're looking at next Thursday and, you're advocating for lineman over quarterback or quarterback over lineman? What is your role in that process come next Thursday?
Whatever, Mr. Tepper and Coach and Scott ask, whatever they ask of me, I'll do. I'll give my input. I've given my input on a bunch of different players, whether it's quarterbacks, linemen, the whole 9 yards. And you just kind of go through and tell them what you see, and tell them how they may fit in the program, and how they may fit, and how you would use them in your offense. And that's my role.
Thank you. Welcome to town.
Great to be here.
All right, let's go to Joe and then Steve.
And it's Joe Person with The Athletic. Good to see you.
Good. Great to see you. That's Joe from Williamsport.
Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Great. Represent. Yes. Thank you for remembering. You did a cool interview in 2018 with the New York Post where you were kind of breaking down the quarterbacks that had gotten drafted that year. And one of them was Sam. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that you thought there was magic in his game, but you didn't at the time really love the way he threw the ball. Wondered kind of if your opinion had changed at all over the years, or just sort of what your opinion is of Sam.
Yeah, Sam was one of the people that intrigued me to the job, to be honest with you. I think Sam does have some magic in his game. I think he's got some athleticism to him. I'm excited to work with Sam, and we've been working the last few days here to kind of get up to speed on the offense. And he's shown flashes of being a good player in this league, and, working together, hopefully we can get that to show up more consistently.
That same article, you mentioned Baker, and you said he had an edge to his game, which you liked, but you weren't sold necessarily on his athleticism. Any change on how you view Baker over the years?
I'd love to be able to comment on your question, but this isn't my first rodeo, and I'm not going to keep the comments to the players on our roster right now.
Thank you, Ben.
Yep.
Hey, Coach, Steve Reed from the Associated Press. Welcome to Charlotte.
Great to see you.
Great to see you. I was wondering, you have a dynamic weapon, certainly in Christian McCaffrey. Can you explain to us on what ways you would like to get the best out of him? And secondly, I'd like to follow up with Will's question. Do you prefer a tackle or a quarterback at number 6 that you can tell us?
Let's, with as far as Christian goes, we're just putting in the offense right now. We'll get out in a couple weeks, what we call phase 2, and kind of throw catch a little bit and run around. And I'd just like to see him, in the offense. I've seen him in different offenses before. I just like to go out there, get my hands on him a little bit, and see how he responds. He's certainly a guy that can, with his past production, he can handle anything you throw at him. He can, he can do a lot of different things for you. And certainly that's exciting. As far as number 6 goes, I'm a team guy first, so whatever's best for the football team, whether it's offense, defense, special teams, whatever the case may be, trading back, I'm good with it all as long as it helps the team.
David Newton and then Ellis, please.
Hey, Coach, I know you don't know where I'm from, but we did see each other.
Liberty, right?
Let's try out. But hey, understanding the quarterback likely will be the face of the organization. How much more intense is the vetting process at that position than any other in the draft, from your experience?
Oh, I think I've been around long enough to be comfortable enough in my own skin to, you work the way you work and you evaluate the way you evaluate. And I'm going to look at the position the same every year, whether you believe you're going to take one or whether you don't believe you're going to take one. I think it's always important that you do your due diligence, dot the I's, cross the T's. And, the worst thing you can start doing, anything in life, is start pressing. And that's the last thing I'll do.
But regarding that, do you do more vetting a quarterback than you say would a guard or a line, another position out there, because he's got to be so much to a team?
Yeah, I think you evaluate each position a little bit differently. I think they all have, their little intricacies you have to dive into. But as far as changing that year to year, that's not something I'm willing to do.
Okay. And you look at Sam as your starting quarterback?
Sam is our starting quarterback, yes. And I'll let, Coach Rule will obviously have a say over that, but the way it is in the building right now, Sam is our starting quarterback.
Right.
Coach, Ellis Williams here, Charlotte Observer. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you. How's it going?
Things are well, man. Welcome to Charlotte. I'm wondering, fans are familiar with you, most familiar during your time with the New York Giants. And, we've had a good 4 or 5 years since then. I'm wondering, in your opinion, what have you learned about yourself? How have you expanded, grown as an offensive coordinator, as a play caller in between then and now?
Yeah, so I've been fortunate enough, as we all know, coaches are hired to be fired in this business, and I was blessed to have the opportunities I've had in the past, and I'm blessed to have this one. During my time away, I spent a lot of time, either watching tape, talking to people who can help me. One of the things I've been working on is being better talking to you people. So, announcing the starting quarterback here, I just put my foot in the mouth. So that wasn't something I should have said, but so I spent some time visiting some different camps and talking to a lot of coaches, a lot of different players. Had a chance to work down in Jacksonville with a good group of coaches. We had a rough year, but had a chance to learn a different system there. And then being in Dallas last year, being with Mike and just seeing how he created the culture there in Dallas, and working with Dan Quinn on defense and Kellen Moore on offense, and just having to, learn both sides of the ball and work on both sides of the ball was a lot of fun. Put a spin on both sides of the ball for both different coordinators and helped any way I could. So I think, if you're not getting better in this profession, you're getting worse. And, that's a little bit about how I spent my time. I tried to be, a better husband and a father than I probably was in New York in the past. It's up for debate whether I did a good job of that or not, but I put some effort into it.
Great answer. Thanks, Coach.
Yep. Thank you.
Let's try. We're getting a little time, so let's try to hit some folks that haven't had a chance yet. We'll go Sheena, then Cameron, then Mike, and then we'll see where we're at.
Good afternoon, Coach. Sheena Quick with Fox Sports 1340 AM. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great. I can't see you. I just see your name.
Oh, sorry about that. But
Okay.
I know you mentioned a little bit earlier that this draft class is interesting and exciting. What are some of the things that jump out at you when it comes to the quarterbacks and the tackles?
The quarterbacks and the tackles. I just think, up front, whether it's, tackles or guards or interior players, there's just a lot of guys that can play the game. It just seems like it's a deeper draft that way. So it just kind of really depends on what you like and what you're looking for, what floats your boat. And the same thing with the quarterback position. You got all these different flavors out there. Just what are you looking for? So there's a bunch of different guys that can play, guys with good skill sets, guys that are smart. The guys seem to be more athletic than maybe they were in the past, just as a consensus. So, it'll be interesting to see how things go.
A quick follow-up on that. I know that a lot of mention was made that this was the most unpolished draft as far as quarterbacks and things like that. There wasn't a lot of star power. If you see any players that are, start ready or week one ready, who jumps out at you? Yeah,
that's probably a question that we'll save for a little bit later. I'm not comfortable talking about that right now. We haven't had our draft meetings yet, and we haven't had the draft yet, so I'll keep that one to myself. But I appreciate the question.
Understood. Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Ben, how you doing, man? Cam Wolf, NFL Network.
Good to see you, Cam.
Good to see you too, man. Just following up on Sheena, I guess there's been a lot of conversations about readiness for the quarterback prospects. How do you evaluate that traits versus the readiness to contribute immediately?
Yeah, I'm a big swing for the fences kind of guy, so just because you're ready doesn't mean you're going to be the best. But ready does factor in some scenarios. I think that, experience obviously helps. The more games you play helps. I think your experiences under what type of system you played in may help some guys over others, and I also think maybe experiences in all-star games may help some guys over others. But at the end of the day, you have to pick a player that you're going to be happy with at that position, hopefully for the next decade. And readiness, it plays a part, but it's not everything.
If I could follow up with just a little of a scheme question. There's a couple of quarterbacks here that are coming from like a RPO-centric offense. I'm curious how you see that translate to this league and maybe how easy it is to get that type of system into maybe what you would like to run.
Yeah, I think, again, to me, it's a skill set question, what kind of skill sets guys have. And I love this stuff. I could talk about it all day. Probably got to be careful about what I say. But, when these guys play in these RPO offenses, they usually have a pretty good feel on where to go with the ball, and they can pull the trigger pretty quickly. And I think those are two things that are very, very valuable in this league.
Appreciate you, man.
Yep.
Hey, Ben, Mike Solarte, Spectrum News 1. Welcome to Charlotte. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
The question I have, I want to make sure I've got this right now, because you said you like to throw, but you also want to be able to run on your own terms, and you're not ready to commit to a style of offense until you can get out and see the guys do what they do on the field in person. Do I have that right?
You're good. I might as well just go. You can take it from here.
I just want to make sure I'm following along here. So all that being said, are you looking at this offense without committing to a style, that sort of thing, as a tear down, rebuild, an augmentation? I mean, what is kind of your overall overarching thought on what you have to work with, what you've seen on tape, and the potential of some of the guys that you've witnessed, watching play?
It's not a tear down to me in any stretch of the imagination. We have good players here, and I didn't come here to lose. I believe in, like I said earlier, I believe in the brand. I believe in coaches' plan to win. Now, the foundation's there. The wins may not have been there yet, but the foundation's there, and I see an avenue to win. When we go on the field, we just have to ask the players to do what they do best. And you're going to throw the ball at times a little more than you're going to run it. You're going to run it at times more than you're going to throw it, but that has to be a decision. You can't be forced to do those things. You have to do them on your terms. And we will be physical and we will be heavy-handed, but you can do that in a variety of different run concepts. It doesn't have to be one.
Great.
All right, guys, we're getting tight here, so let's just do two quick ones to finish off. We'll go Vashti and then finish with Jonathan Alexander.
Hi, Coach. Vashti here with Carolina Blitz. Just following up on what you said earlier, you said that Sam Darnold was one of the things that intrigued you about this job. I wanted to know what else intrigued you about taking this position.
Well, a lot of it, is what I just said. I believe in Coach. I followed Coach. We worked with similar people in New York. We weren't there together. Had a chance to see how he developed the program in Temple. Had a chance to see how he took Baylor and got them back on track after some very tough times. And I talked to him, the first couple of years on the job. Just nothing really worked out. I believe in the brand. I believe in the plan to win. And I see a foundation being set. I see the effort that the guys play with on Sundays. I see that there's an avenue to win, and I believe that I got on at the right time.
And Matt Rule mentioned that one of the reasons why he hired you was because of your experience in developing quarterbacks or helping quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he particularly pointed out Eli Manning. So I was wondering, what do you think was the reason why you were successful in that instance in helping Eli Manning have such an improved year in that year?
Well, I mean, that's probably a better question for Eli than it is for me. But one thing I do believe is I think you would need to train the players fundamentally. And the quarterback position, you need to train him fundamentally. You need to hold his feet to the fire, and then you need to build everything around his fundamentals and make sure it fits like nuts and bolts. And you need to train him to play the way you want to play. And, take the handcuffs off, so to speak, roll the ball out there and let him go and teach him how you want him to play and let him play the game. He's throwing it. You're not. If it's in the playbook, you better like it. It's in there. It has your name on it. That's what I believe.